Hello everybody, Josh Control back here again with another video, and today I bring you my official Flash extra video. I did one for Arrow and Gotham, and of course if you don't know the general gist of what this extra video entails, it's basically me sitting down giving you my rundown of my favorite characters, episodes, and of course things I expect from the series going on from here. And of course I also give you a several list of characters I may or may not have liked, and of course episodes I did not like, and obviously things that I really don't want to see from the series going on. And of course if you just want to get more of a general gist of what this video is all about, check out my extra videos on Arrow and Gotham. Of course, if you've not seen them, go to my channel and check them out. It's of course titled Arrow Season 3, The Good, the Bad, and the Batman. And of course, Gotham Season 1, The Good, the Bad, and the Evil. And of course, today I give you my official video titled The Flash, The Good, the Fast, and the Awesome. So let's just get right down to it. The Flash Season 1 is officially ended. It's been done for at least a week now, and God, the season finale was an experience that you can't that I've never ever have experienced anywhere else in watching anything comic book, whether it be any of the other DC properties or any of the Marvel properties. No other program has ever really made me feel the way I do after seeing all of The Flash. So if you guys are, fans of The Flash, or even if you're a non-fan of the character of The Flash, and you're like, do I really need to know anything about the comic books to really understand the show, or do I have to be a fan to really understand the show? No, you don't, because by the time you finish watching all of The Flash Season 1, there are 23 episodes in total. You're definitely not going to be disappointed, and you're definitely going to be a fan of The Flash afterwards. So I definitely suggest people checking it out. It's definitely worth the watch. It's hands down, for me personally, it was the best show, the best comic book TV show, rather, of last year. And I would definitely, without seeing anything else that's come out for the rest of this year, I would definitely say that this second half of the season really killed it to the point I would consider it the best show of this year. So for me personally, let me know what you think about that in the comments. But nonetheless, without further ado, let's just get right down into the top 5 characters of The Flash. Characters that I personally thought were done well from the comic books, and of course were just really awesome to watch and see them develop throughout the first season. Coming in number 5 has to go to Caitlin Snow, of course, aka Killer Frost from the comic books. It was just, I really liked that they brought in Danielle Panabaker into the show. I always really enjoyed her in other type of stuff, and I think she killed it as Caitlin Snow in this program. Of course, you can't recreate a Felicity. Of course, Felicity is the definitive DC TV show chick, obviously to everyone. But for me personally, I think Caitlin Snow did a great job at trying to create her own character, create her own path, and I think she had more or less depth and more of a story than Felicity herself, and that's just me personally. Coming up at number 4 has to go to Joe West, of course, the father of Iris, and of course, obviously, the surrogate father of Barry Allen. Joe is just awesome. I love the actor who portrays Joe. I loved him ever since, like, the Law and Order kind of days and shit. And personally, I think Joe just killed it in this season. He really did a good job at playing, the hero detective / surrogate father to Barry, and, mentor, and, trying to still withstand law in Central City and what have you, and try to be more of a father to Iris, who's, going off doing her own thing. Joe West, awesome character. Coming number 3 comes to our favorite fanboy on the show, which is Cisco Ramon. Cisco is just awesome all around. He's an amazing character. He's the ultimate fanboy that the CW deserves, and the one we need right now. Essentially, that's Cisco. There's not really much I can say about Cisco other than he's just awesome, and it's just funny and cool to see him continuously evolve throughout the show, continuously have all the funny one-liners, and obviously come up with all the names for every single rogue on the show. And even though I may have not liked 100%, I would say, like, his, I guess, love relationship with one of the rogues or whatever, and the fact that he's still not a metahuman at this point, And even though I'm not really a big fan of Vibe from the comic books, I still like the actor who portrays Cisco. I think he killed it and definitely made, I guess, a really interesting, amazing staple on the show itself. But moving off of that, going to number 2 has to go to our main protagonist, which is Barry Allen himself, Grant Gustin. I had zero interest in him prior to the show. I just thought it was just stupid that they just got this Glee guy to freaking play, Barry Allen the Flash. I mean, like, when he was first casted, I had zero interest. I thought it was going to suck. I thought it was going to be terrible. I thought it was going to be more of the CW bullshit, because he doesn't really look like Barry from the comic books. I mean, Grant Gustin, even today, still doesn't look like the Barry we read in the comic books. But that being said, he killed it in this show. He was so incredibly awesome to watch him develop to, this normal and ordinary guy who has nothing going for him to becoming Central City's, Scarlet Speedster, the main superhero, the first ever superhero in the CW universe, allegedly. Because, there's always a way to, change things around based off what we've learned over the course of both The Flash and Arrow. But that being said, Grant Gustin, I think, killed it as the character Barry Allen. The Flash is one of my favorite DC characters / superheroes. So for me personally, I think he was awesome, and I definitely can relate to him, which I think is the best part about his performance as Barry Allen. Nonetheless, going to number 1 has to go to the antagonist himself, Reverse Flash, aka Harrison Wells, being played by Tom Cavanagh. I think he killed it as the Reverse Flash. I mean, in the beginning, we watch him develop as like this really cool, down-to-earth kind of scientist dude who's mentoring Barry and trying to lead him into becoming the hero that he should become in the future. And then we find out that he's actually from the future and he's a time traveler and that he's doing a lot of, sketchy things behind the scenes. And, like, is he a villain? Is he a good guy? We don't really know. I mean, like, why is he helping Barry? And then we find out that he's actually, spoilers, Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash from the future, who has, of course, come back in time to stop Barry, but before he can do that, he needs Barry to, jumpstart the Speed Force and what have you, so he can go back to his time. Amazing story arc that Reverse Flash has, / Harrison Wells. Tom Cavanagh as the main villain was awesome. I mean, I really enjoy the actor and majority of the stuff he did. I really, before this show started, I really did not expect him to be the official villain of the show, but I think it was an amazing choice. He just was amazing as the villain. I mean, like, as with most great heroes, there needs to be a great villain, and I think Harrison Wells / Reverse Flash was awesome as the main villain for this first season. Granted, I would have expected it for maybe like a season 2 kind of thing, but right off the bat, the Flash is like all about like a new villain every week, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Nonetheless, moving off of that, going into my top 5 least character list. Personally, majority of the characters in this list I actually do like, because unlike other shows like Arrow or Constantine or Gotham or iZombie or whatever other type of, comic book TV show that's out there today, The Flash, I really have little to zero qualms with anything that goes on with the show. I mean, granted, there were some things that here and there I kind of was like, or meh, but for me personally, the characters were not that. There was a lot of really awesome characters. For this list, specifically, they're characters that I personally think did not completely 100% live up to their potential, and I personally think deserve more development. So that's kind of like my way of saying they don't suck, but they kind of do. So just bear with me. Coming in number 5 has to go to Henry Allen, of course. I think it's awesome that the CW got John Wesley Shipp to obviously come back to the Flash universe. I think that was awesome. I personally would have liked it if he just played Jay Garrick or something, but I guess they'll change things around for season 2. But that being said, I think it was an amazing choice to bring him in. I just feel like it just would have been better that we've got to get more development with him. I mean, like, we really don't have, I mean, like, with all the episodes that he's been in altogether, he's only been in, like, 2 episodes fully at the most, you can hardly fill up an entire episodes of pretty much all of, Henry Allen kind of sequences. So, for me, I want to see more Henry Allen out of season 2. So that's why he's number 5. Number 4 has to go to General Eiling. For me, I personally think it's awesome that the CW was able to get Clancy Brown to play General Eiling. Of course, he's one of the many bad guys of season 1 of The Flash. He's basically, for those of you who don't know, he's basically like a military man version of Amanda Waller. So kind of how, if you don't really understand all this stuff, basically think of General Eiling as Amanda Waller and what she is for Arrow. That's basically what they were. And that's also one of the negatives about General Eiling in The Flash, because the thing with Amanda Waller is, as great as she is portrayed, there's not really that many there's not that much depth, there's not that much comic book connection to her comic book counterpart, and on top of that, there's not really that many sequences of her being a legitimate character. She's kind of just doing her own thing, and, you know, we don't really get a lot with her. And that's kind of the same thing with General Eiling. He's basically the Amanda Waller of The Flash. So for all I can really say is I want to see him develop more as a character, and I want to see him do some more bad things. So coming up to number 3 has to go to the Rogues. The Rogues, I feel like, were pretty simplistic in the season. I mean, granted, the Rogues are a dominant force in the comic books. They're obviously a band of villains who come together to take down the Flash in Central City or whatever, led by the notorious villain Captain Cold or wherever. But for me personally, I think after the second episode, I want to say, like, ever since the first episode that Captain Cold premiered in, ever since then, like, the Rogues never really felt like a legitimate threat. Like, the second episode that premiered, when Heatwave came around, I liked, but the ending I was like, eh. And then everything after that kind of was, like, downhill for the Rogues. It kind of felt like, yeah, like, they get a new member every episode, but they don't really make a legitimate threat. They're just... They're kind of like the Boba Fett of the, you know, of the Flash universe, which sucks because, you know, I like Captain Cold, I like the actor who plays Captain Cold, and I like every other actor who plays their comic book counterpart, but for me, I want to see the Rogues return, but return like badasses. I want them to, like, return all Mad Max style. That's what I personally want. But that being said, coming in number 2 has to go to Firestorm. The only reason I say that is because Firestorm has, personally for me, has had a lot of development throughout the season, but I don't think has reached their full potential yet. I think Martin Stein and Ronnie Raymond still have a lot of time to really become the Firestorm that I personally like from the comic books that I personally used to read. So, because I used to read a lot of Firestorm comic books back in the day, I'm a pretty decently big, you know, Firestorm fan, and I don't really think we got the full extent of their character. I mean, like, we got their relationship status, and you know Ronnie's, you know, love for Caitlin, Caitlin's love for Ronnie, and Martin Stein has a one-liner here and there, and he's obviously, you know, one of the smartest characters on the show, which is awesome. But hopefully with shows like Legend of Tomorrow, we can get some more development there. But for me personally, I feel like Firestorm is awesome on the show, visually interesting, but I think needs a little bit more to really reach, you know, its potential. That's all I can really say. But moving off of that, going to number 1 has to go to Iris West. Once again, I know it kind of feels that, like, every single number 1 character I don't like, whether it be on Arrow or Flash, happens to be a female character. I don't know why, it just happens. But for me, I have no qualms with the actress who plays Iris. I think she is great. I think she's, you know, really... I really have enjoyable times, you know, and entertaining times watching her character. I do. I'm not going to say that she's completely crap like, you know, Thea on Arrow. I'm not going to say that, but for me, I still feel that Iris is not the Iris I read from the comic books. Like, when I read a Flash comic book and I see the love that Barry and Iris have and, like, their relationship together and how it evolves through time and, you know, and continues to go on and on and on, I don't really get that with the show. The show is more like they have love for each other, but because of Iris's personal feelings towards Barry and her, I guess, I don't want, like, superficial feelings about the world that perceives them, they can't be together. And I don't know, I just think that's kind of wrong way to go. I personally feel that, you know, for season 2, they need to, like, rework Iris as a character and just like reboot her. That's kind of what I really want to see from her. But nonetheless, for me, I personally think she's one of the number one characters who are very underdeveloped and personally didn't reach their comic book potential. But that being said, I know a lot of people love her, so that's why I stated in before I started this list that these are characters that I don't hate, but characters I personally think need more development and what have you. But nonetheless, moving off of that, let's get into my top 5 list of my favorite episodes / stories. So of course these are episodes that I personally feel were the best out of the season, so let me know what you personally think. Coming up number 5 has to go to episode 1, the pilot, the first episode to really get us to know the universe that is The Flash. For me personally, I had zero expectations for the first episode. I thought it was going to be lame, based off the images, the trailers, that first image of the suit that we got. I personally thought that this show was really not going to get anywhere. I thought that, Arrow would be better than The Flash because, Arrow was just finished, being, one of the biggest shows with season 2, which I personally think was their greatest season. And then The Flash came and just destroyed the CW. It destroyed every other program. It was just the number one show at the point of, CW's history. It was bigger than Arrow, it was bigger than Vampire Diaries, it was bigger than name a show on the CW, it was bigger and badder, and it was awesome. And it was just an amazing episode. Just a great start to a great season. Moving off of that, number 4 on my list, episode 9, The Man in the Yellow Suit. Of course, is the big review of the Reverse Flash in Central City. Barry versus Reverse Flash. We get our first, basic storyline for the second half of the season, which is going to be obviously a very heavy Barry versus Harrison Wells kind of story. Just really awesome, story arc all around. Overall, Man in the Yellow Suit was awesome. It came around, I want to say, during the Christmas season, so it was more or less a Christmas episode, but it was definitely an awesome mid-season finale. That being said, number 3 on my list, episode 15, Out of Time. Of course, the first time that we get to see Barry time travel, and everything turns to shit right before it. Weather Wizard comes to town, destroys the city, Joe West is about to die, Iris realizes the truth that she's in love with Barry, they come together, they kiss, she knows the identity, shit goes down, time travel happens, everything's rebooted. Amazing episode, definitely one of those episodes that really defines The Flash. Definitely check it out if you've not done so already. But coming up to number 2 on my list has to go to episode 17, titled Tricksters. Yes, it's the episode that I personally love as a fanboy of anything that has to do with the geek world, the comic book world, or anything awesome, which is obviously Mark Hamill, the badass himself, Luke Skywalker, the Joker himself, comes to Central City and just destroys. I mean, for me personally, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Mark Hamill, he's just a voice actor. Oh, no, he's, that Star Wars guy. But for me personally, I wish he would do more live-action acting. I mean, I personally feel like if he's not in the DC Cinematic Universe, that's just Warner Brothers' fault. Because, I mean, granted, he probably won't do it anyways because he's doing, obviously, the Star Wars, the new Star Wars trilogy, but we'll see what happens. But that being said, I think he killed it in this specific episode. This is a Mark Hamill episode, and it's a good thing for it. Basically, if you've seen Hannibal, essentially think of that, but a more comedic version of Hannibal. That's what this episode is, and it's freaking awesome. But number 1 on my list has to go to the freaking season finale, episode 23, titled Fast Enough. The season finale, awesome all around. The first episode of all the season 1 of The Flash that got me at the edge of my seat with my mouth wide open and literally in tears. I was literally in tears watching this episode. It was the only episode in the entire season that really made me want to cry, other than the one sequence where, obviously Barry and I want to say in the pilot or in one of the earlier episodes where Barry and Henry Allen are having their their talks in the jail cell and what have you. Other than that, the season finale was the first episode that really made me drop me down to my knees and in tears in a good way, in a very great way. And that's just, this episode defines the show, and it's also the episode that really defines what DC superheroes are all about. Because for me personally, I hate it when people are like, oh, DC superheroes are uninteresting. It's all about the villains. Marvel has better heroes. Like, I remember, I'm probably paraphrasing this to death, but there was a specific quote that Sam Jackson did, Samuel L. Jackson, of course, who plays Nick Fury in the MCU. I think he made a specific statement, like, back in the day when Batman v Superman was first announced. He made a statement like, and I'm paraphrasing this, but he said something on terms of, like, Marvel is the home of true heroes, and DC only has interesting villains. Like, that's what was his basic quote is. I'm paraphrasing to death, so don't quote me on that, but that's what the general gist of what his statement was, and that always angered me, and I know a lot of people kind of get off on me on that. It's like, take it easy, fanboy, take it easy. It's like, you take it easy. This episode, if it does anything right, the number one thing they do correctly and amazingly is that they show that DC is a home of true superheroes. I mean, the things that Barry does to accomplish the safety of not only his friends, not even himself, but the entire city that he loves and the entire planet itself is amazing to watch. Definitely recommend it. It's the best. It's ironically the last episode of the season, but it's definitively the best episode of the season. Definitely check it out. But moving off of that, going into my top 5 non-favorite slash episodes slash stories. Of course, these are episodes that I kind of liked, but personally, I feel were kind of the worst of the season. So bear with me. Coming number 5 has to go to episode 18, All-Star Team Up. It's obviously the Flash and Atom team up episode. I personally felt it was kind of a waste of a team up crossover episode, and I didn't really like the villain. Coming number 4 has to go to episode 16, Rogue Time. Once again, it's another Rogue episode. Like I stated with my characters list, that I personally feel that the Rogues are very underdeveloped, and I personally feel like they haven't really made a legitimate threat on Central City, and this episode is basically what I mean by that. It's basically just, they bring in the sister, she has a cool gun, but that's pretty much it. That's the end of the episode. It's kind of useless. Coming number 3 has to go to episode 2, Fastest Man Alive. Personally, I really liked it in my first viewing, but when I went back and looked at it, it doesn't really hold up as good as the pilot, I personally think. I think it's a decent episode, but I don't think it's one of the greatest, and I personally feel like the villain was kind of just pointless. Especially in comparison to future villains on the show. But moving off of that, going to number 2 on my list, episode 19, Who is Harrison Wells? Personally, just a whatever kind of episode. It's obviously the episode where we kind of come up to the conclusion that, there's more to Harrison Wells that meets the eye. Not to mention we had a pretty useless villain that I personally felt that when I first saw it, and I still feel the same, that there were so many times, multiple times, that Barry or Team Flash in general could have stopped the villain at any point. I don't know, that's just me. For the Fastest Man Alive, the fastest fictional character ever, you would think that he could have caught that character pretty easily, but that's just me. But coming up to my number 1 least favorite slash episode on the show has to go to episode 12, Crazy for You. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the episode where we had the transporter who was doing everything for her boyfriend or whatever. Personally, I felt like it was a useless episode. It was, I like to think of it as like, and I like to consider all these other episodes, a part of it is like, it's a filler. Like, it's just filler for the main story, so it doesn't really matter. That's how I kind of feel about it. But that being said, moving off of that, moving off that list and getting into top 5 things I want to see out of Season 2. This is basically a list of things that I personally want to see in future seasons, and hopefully that we kind of get teased a little bit for DC's, Legends of Tomorrow and moving on from there, we get some hopefully interesting things from that show as well. I personally hope it's just as good as Flash, hopefully. But that being said, coming to number 5 of things that I really want to see out of Season 2, coming number 5, Professor Zoom. We already know that Tom Cavanagh has been signed on to be in Season 2. We don't know what he's going to do. We don't know if he's going to come back as Reverse Flash, or if he's going to come back as a different Reverse Flash, or, you know, he's going to come back as the real Harrison Wells. We don't really know what he's going to do, but we already know that he is going to be in Season 2. And personally, I feel like with all villains and superheroes, the Reverse Flash must exist. There has to be a Reverse Flash when there's a Flash. You know, the Reverse Flash must always be, you know, 3 steps ahead of the Flash. You know, he must always be... It's kind of like the Joker. The Joker must exist, because if he does not exist, you know, there is no purpose of having a Batman. There is no purpose of having a Joker if Batman doesn't exist, and vice versa for Barry and Reverse Flash. And personally, if they don't decide to make Tom Cavanagh Eobard Thawne again, I would personally love to see either him or someone else come back as Professor Zoom Hunter Zolomon. That's what I personally would like to see. I'm just saying, we need some more antagonists, some badass antagonists. Moving off of that, coming to number 4, I want to see more speedsters. I want to see some Jay Garrick awesomeness. I want to see Wally West. I want to see Impulse. I personally think that Season 2 should be the opening platform for a sidekick. Kind of similar to how Roy was this, you know, the opening to sidekicks for Arrow on Season 2. I think they should do the same thing with Wally West. And personally, after featuring the Jay Garrick helmet in the season finale, might as well bring in Jay Garrick as well. I mean, like, it just makes sense, and God, it would be so badass if we saw Jay Garrick. It would kill. It would be amazing. I freaking was just drooling over that helmet the second it popped in, and was like, oh shit, the helmet! The original Golden Age Flash. Oh, that's going to be so awesome if that happens. But nonetheless, Wally West, I feel, is more logical choice to go, but I would like to see more speedsters overall. I want to see a Kid Flash. I want to see, you know, an older Flash. I want to see all these Flashes. Anyways, moving off of that, coming to number 3, I want to see the Green Lantern. I stated this in my Arrow Extra video, and I personally still feel that Green Lantern needs to be you know, introduced into the CW. Granted, they're doing it in the cinematic universe, but we have to keep in mind that, first off, we're not going to see Green Lantern anytime soon. I mean, like, I find it very unlikely that he's going to be introduced in Batman v Superman, and it's just, you know, it's skeptical. It's just, you know, very, very, you know, it's... I don't want to say it's unlikely, but there's been talks that maybe he might not show up in Justice League Part 1. Justice League Part 2, I find it very, very likely that he will show up, but the first Justice League, I think he might show up, but we just don't know yet. I think, you know, Warner Brothers wants to hold off on Green Lantern at first, and I personally think the CW should be Warner Brothers' platform for introducing new characters that they really haven't done in the movies. Granted, that's what Batman v Superman's kind of doing, but I think they should do that for other characters that we're not used to yet. You know, like Green Lantern. I think the movie kind of failed, and we need to be in a specific, you know, medium where we can just reintroduce the character and do it well, you know. And I think the Flash did a great job, and they obviously did multiple freaking Easter eggs to the Green Lantern universe. So, and not to mention that one hint where they actually almost mention the fact that, you know, Green Lantern may or may not exist in this universe. So I say Season 2, bring in Hal Jordan. If not just Hal Jordan, at least a character from the Green Lantern universe. That's all I really want to see. Moving off that, number 2, I want to see more Easter eggs. The great thing about The Flash versus Arrow is that it did more Easter eggs. Arrow did a good job at introducing Easter eggs. I mean, obviously, they introduced the character Barry and what have you, and did their fair share of, you know, doing, you know, Blue Beetle kind of Easter eggs and, you know, other stuff like that. But The Flash took that and just ran with it, where they were able to just introduce characters just by setting them up in the first episode. I mean, ever since the pilot, every single Easter egg that they set up, they were able to accomplish in comparison to Arrow, where they're like, they can do it, and then like Warner Brothers is like, I don't think so, Arrow writers, you want Harley Quinn? Well, no, but with the Flash, it's like, hey, we want to do Gorilla Grodd. Well, here's the fucking money, bitch. That's what they fucking do, and I think it's amazing that they were able to accomplish a lot that they did in this season. I mean, for me, I thought it would just be, majority of the season would be kind of like Arrow, where it's like, Barry learns how to get faster every episode. That's how I felt, but they introduced characters, storylines, so many different kind of, aspects from the DC universe that I never thought they could do. And hell, they're doing it again with, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and it made Arrow kind of amp up their game with the superhero genre, what have you. So I personally give a full-on kudos to Flash, and I hope they do the same thing for Season 2. I want more Easter eggs, and I want them to freaking flourish into something. That being said, number one, I want to see some multiverse storylines. Yes, now that we have been introduced to the fact that we're in a crisis, and the fact that there's a black hole over Central City just introduces the fact that there's a boom tube that leads into various different universes / Earths / various berries and characters that we may or may not get the chance to see. But personally, seeing as how it's been introduced, we might as well just go dive right into it. I mean, like, it's time to get all Crisis. So that's that's the number one thing that I want to see. But that being said, in the comments, let me know what you personally want to see out of the Season 2. But that being said, the last thing that I want to name off for the end of this compilation video, personally, is my top 8 Easter eggs of The Flash Season 1. The greatest thing about The Flash, as I said prior, that it gave us a lot of great Easter eggs that really went somewhere, unlike Arrow and, other kind of TV shows like that. Nonetheless, there's 8 specific Easter eggs. I'm pretty sure there's more, but for me personally, these are the 8 that I personally, in my opinion, really, really enjoyed, and I really feel like could go somewhere, and have gone somewhere. So let me know what you personally think, but these are the 8 Easter eggs out of the season that I enjoyed. If there are more Easter eggs that you enjoyed that I did not name in this list, please let me know in the comments below. But that being said, coming in number 8 has to go to Coast City Easter egg. Obviously, as I said prior, that Green Lantern has been, one of the multiple Easter egg characters on the show. And I'm just saying, it's just a matter of time till we get to see that Emerald Knight. Oh, God, I just want to see the freaking Green Lantern, and Coast City is a definitive reference to that character. Another definitive reference is number 7, Ferris Air, which, of course, is, a part of the Green Lantern universe, where, obviously, Hal Jordan works at, and obviously his love interest owns, and at the end of the day, as hinted in The Flash, Hal Jordan, or a character like Hal Jordan, has been missing, and that's why Ferris Air is closed. So, could this lead into something? I hope so. Coming on number 6 has to go to the Kahndaq Dynasty Diamond. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but essentially, if you don't know what that is, it was introduced in, I want to say, the Captain Cold episode, where essentially the diamond is a specific diamond from Black Adam's universe. Basically, if you don't know what Kahndaq is, if I'm pronouncing that is, for those of you who don't know from the comic books, Kahndaq is actually a fictional Middle Eastern country or continent in the DC universe that is actually the home of the character Black Adam that actually Dwayne Johnson's going to be playing in the DC Cinematic Universe. So, does that mean that there's going to be ever a connection with Black Adam in this show? I don't really know. Speculations go off, if you will, but for me personally, I don't think Black Adam will ever be a part of this show. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dwayne Johnson's gonna, pull fucking Hugh Jackman, is gonna show up everywhere, I'm pretty sure, but I find it very unlikely that CW is gonna be able to get Dwayne Johnson to do anything for them, but if they were able to try and do anything Shazam, I would like them to introduce some more magical characters into The Flash. I mean, I'm not saying they technically need to do a Shazam or technically need to a Black Adam, but if they can do, like, the Wizard or, any other freaking character in that universe, or Billy Batson just as, as the kid, not technically the superhero, go ahead and do it. I would love to see it. That being said, coming number 5 on my Easter eggs list has to go to the CCPD Justice League mural. Obviously, in Barry's work, the Central City Police Department, you can actually see that there's a gigantic banner of the symbol of CCPD, and it's obviously truth, justice, liberty, or whatever, and it's Greek mythological characters in the center, and they're all formed in the same kind of way that the Justice League is formed. And when you look at it very closely, you could see that they're obviously Justice League characters. Like, you can see, like, Zeus is kind of like, you know, the Superman Shazam kind of character. You can see, like, a character with, you know, bow and arrow. You can see, you know, Hermes. You can see, you know, we can compare them to, like, Green Arrow and the Flash and what have you. Go on. So, you can see, you know, obviously, you know, Aquaman. There's so many references in that one image that you can just speculate in the comments below. But I just like that they introduced that in general. They haven't really stated that they are going to do a full-on Justice League in the CW, but they kind of hinted at the fact, you know, because you can't really call Legends of Tomorrow a Justice League show because that's not technically Justice League, but keep in mind that one day there will be an eventual Justice League formation in the CW. Eventually. But that being said, number 4, one of my favorite Easter eggs from the season that we don't really get that much hint on for obvious reasons has to go to the Wayne Tech merger. In the first pilot of the episode, there's obviously the futuristic newspaper that Harrison Wells pulls up, and obviously when you look at it very closely, amongst all the various other Easter eggs that are on it, you can see clearly that in the bottom of left-hand corner of the image, you can see that there's a specific font that states Wayne Tech and Queen Inc. merger. So that obviously hints at the fact that Bruce Wayne / Gotham City exists in this universe, but we don't technically see him yet. So for me personally, I have no idea if the CW's ever going to get the chance to do Batman. Granted, as I stated multiple times prior, that Warner Brothers, you know, keeps Batman close to them. You know, Batman's Warner Brothers' golden child. They will never fucking let that go for anything else. So I don't really see Batman ever showing up, but I personally would like to see more Easter eggs of it. I'm not saying, you know, we got to be like, you know, we need a team. Get Bruce Wayne on the phone or whatever. I'm not saying you need to do that, but just do some more stuff like that. Like, put in Wayne Enterprises in the background. You know, put, you know, a Dark Knight pin on the floor or something. Like, do something like that. Like, that's similar to what I stated in the Arrow video, where it's like, now that Felicity and Oliver are gone, this is the perfect chance for more Batman Easter eggs / references. Like, you know, oh, we went to Gotham City and we met another vigilante or something like that. We had Bruce Wayne, he's the Dark Knight or whatever. You know, I'm not saying you have to show it. Just tell me. Just whisper in my ears. I want to hear it. That being said, going to number 3 has to go to Killer Frost. Mostly, the next 3 have been in the season finale. So if you've not seen the season finale, spoilers. Number 3, Killer Frost. Caitlin Snow is obviously Killer Frost from the comic books, but essentially we've not seen her have any kind of metahuman powers in this series. So it's kind of interesting in the season finale that in a parallel timeline, Caitlin Snow does become Killer Frost, and I think it was just awesome to get that. I don't know if she's going to become her in a future season, but it was just nice to get that Easter egg. Number 2, the Flash Museum. We got that again. I think that was this was the second time we got the Flash Museum Easter egg. We essentially got one prior, but this was the first time we got to officially see it, and I thought it was amazing. I don't know if they're ever going to, you know, construct an actual museum to the Flash on the show, but it would just be awesome if we got that overall. But coming up to my number 1 Easter egg on the entire season has to go to Jay Garrick's helmet, of course. Jay Garrick is the Golden Age Flash, and right before shit goes down between Reverse Flash and Barry, Jay Garrick's helmet just flies right out of the ether and just falls on the ground, and we get that amazing image of the helmet and the introduction to multiple other speedsters in this universe. So once again, we got to see more speedsters. I want to see Jay Garrick in Season 2, or at least more Easter eggs. I need it. You need to give this to me. But nonetheless, this has been my Flash Extra video titled The Good, the Fast, and the Awesome. I hope everyone has enjoyed. I hope you check out The Flash. Please do yourself a favor. Check it out. Show it to a friend. Show it to a family member. This is a show that your mom can love. It's just awesome, amazing, crazy DC content. I hope the Flash movie is at least half as good as this show, or even better. I mean, granted, it might be better because, effects-wise, but that being said, this show is so good. I can't wait till season 2. They're just killing me with the Temptations, with this Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, I'm interested in that too, but it's I'd freaking sell that out in a second just to get some more season 2 of The Flash. Same thing goes for Arrow. But that being said, I hope everyone has enjoyed this specific video. Definitely in the comments below, let me know your personal list for your top characters, top episodes, and of course things you want to see out of Season 2. Also, give me your top Easter eggs that you saw over the course of the season. Maybe Easter eggs I did not name in this specific list. And of course, name off some characters that you want to see have more development in Season 2 or in future seasons. And of course, name off some episodes that you personally did not like out of the season. Comment below, let me know. Of course, go back to my channel, check out my mid-season finale review. It has been re-uploaded, of course. It was deleted, I want to say, a couple months ago, so please check it out again. Of course, check out my season finale of The Flash review. Check out my Age of Ultron movie review. Also, check out my Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice review. And of course, for the heck of it, check out my Mad Max Fury Road movie review, which I personally think, as of right now, Mad Max Fury Road, for me, is the #1 movie of the year. It's so freaking badass. You will not be disappointed. It's awesome. Check it out. Comment below, let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. And this has been The Flash.